What's going on, everyone? This is Lior. I'm back with another video.
What's up, guys? I'm Faris.
And I'm currently at Faris's place. Thanks for having me over. Appreciate it.
Anytime, Lior. Anytime.
So, Faris, tell everyone how I know you.
That's a good story, man. Turns out we were practically neighbors to some degree.
Yeah.
Not really, but from the same town in West Newton, Massachusetts. Here. When I saw your name, it looked so familiar when I was online. But basically, early on into my home buying process, I was in bigger pocket forums, looking up some question about some towns in Massachusetts about the cap rate in Somerville, and I saw a comment from no other than Lior.
Yours truly.
from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I saw, because in bigger pockets, the forum, you see the town.
Yep.
And it said Newton. And I was like, get the hell out of here. There's a real estate agent in Newton who's my age in mid-20s. I got to talk to this guy. Actually, what I did right then and there is I looked you up on Facebook.
There it is. Yeah, there you go.
Turns out we have 100 mutual friends.
Yep. So we're going to do this video, guys. Faris, as you could probably tell, just bought his first piece of property. So what we're going to do is talk about his whole process, basically how he got started, why he even thought about real estate, how he prepped himself financially, how he went about the process to search, get connected with different people within the industry, talk about the transactional process, and he's going to give you his super ninja trick about how he was able to use one thing that allowed him to negotiate the price down of his house by $40,000. And I wasn't even a huge believer in it, but he insisted on it, and he got it done.
I can't wait. I can't wait to show you guys some of the tricks and honestly just all the great stuff that I learned along the entire way and process. And I know that when I was searching, I wanted to hear someone to talk me through step by step, what does it look like?
Yep.
So hopefully we can go into that today. Huh?
Yeah. Dude, let's start it off. I mean, Why don't you just tell everyone where were you financially, let's say, before you started that whole journey? What were you thinking about doing? What was going on behind the scenes?
That's a great question. Yeah. So it's November 2020 as we're filming today.
Yep.
To be honest, I never thought about buying a home, especially this early. I'm only 26 years old, and I'm still shocked to this day. Every day I wake up, I'm like, I have property. That's weird. But there's some silver linings to the pandemic, to be honest.
Yep.
One of them is it prompted this discussion with my parents where we started thinking that the housing market was going to crash. Now, no idea what's going to happen in the housing market. But it got me thinking, well, if it's going to crash, why don't I start searching prices? So we started that conversation back in, I'd say, April, May. Then it teetered off. And I knew that at the time, I was hanging out with my parents in Newton for a while, but I had my own apartment. I was sharing an apartment with two other roommates in Cambridge, paying $1,400 a month.
Steep.
Yeah. I had a nice ensuite bathroom. Nice big room.
Yep.
And I was spending a lot of money on rent.
$1,400 is not cheap.
It's not cheap, dude. And something about it, just every time I just think about here's my income. We all have paychecks, right? We have paychecks coming in every month, and I'm taking a significant chunk of my paycheck, and it's I'm tossing it up in the air, letting it match to it, and it vanishes.
Yep.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And now, what if I instead took that cash and I threw it into a box, and then I stuffed it underneath my bed? That's building home equity. So that's always been kind of in the very back of my mind, and I was like, I need to do that, and I think I should do that, and I should do it sooner rather than later, because if you look, I'm paying $1,400 a month. That's almost close to $20 grand a year, and the 5 years go by. What is that? Almost 100 grand.
Geez. Yeah, that's 100 grand right there.
100 grand right there. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So why not just build that 100 grand to some degree in equity? So.
I mean, so many people especially when you first read Bigger Pockets or other real estate forums. That's the biggest thing, right? Why am I paying rent and building someone else's equity down, right? Or building their equity up, right? Why don't I just take that money and at least build my own equity
totally.
Right?
Yeah, that's the funny part is I thought thought it was always like something some people did. They were real estate investors, these fancy guys. And then like what actually made me pull the trigger on being serious about the search was I just started casually talking to a few people at work, some of my friends, some of my family, and more people, like successful people I talked to. I realized, I think it was like the 5th or 6th successful person in my life that I talked to. Turns out they were doing real estate on the side. I didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh crap, that makes sense. And it turns out once you look into it, like you go to Bigger Pockets, you start watching videos by Graham Stephan, one of my favorite YouTubers out there, right after you.
Right after me, yeah.
And you realize how accessible it is.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of made me like convinced I gotta get going on this thing.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
And again, so many people go down that journey, and it's once you really like start really rationalizing like what you're spending that rent money on, like why not just build it down for yourself?
Yeah.
It becomes very real. And I will say this too, if you listen to a lot of interviews of like CPAs, attorneys, like so many of them that become real estate investors, they all say the same thing. Like they saw other people's financial statements and they would all say like, you know what, like after seeing all these real estate investors' financial statements, I just got sick of it and I decided to do it myself because they're the ones getting rich.
It's a hell of a thing, you know.
Yeah.
I think the stats in Massachusetts, it's something like 1 out of 10 people in Mass is like a homeowner, and like 9 out of 10 people pay rent, and you know, it's something that a lot more people at a very young age can and should get into.
Yep.
Because financially, you're just setting yourself up for some great groundwork in life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, okay, so you kind of, that thought kept going in your head and you started to get more serious. So what were your thoughts then, right? Like you probably started looking at listings, you're probably going on like Zillow, Realtor. Tell us like how that process, like what kind of properties you were looking at, like what areas you were thinking about.
Good question. So I didn't know where to get started, man.
No
freaking idea. I think
most people are like that too, by the way, so it's okay.
I think I reached out to you at one point.
Yeah.
And this was like before you were my agent. Like, I just casually was talking to you.
Yeah.
I think so what I decided to do was, you know, I was like, I'm gonna do my homework. I'm gonna get diligent about this. And I think I stumbled upon one of these Bigger Pockets videos, and I heard this advice. And I want everyone, if you're gonna take away one out of the 3 big tips I'm gonna go away from this video, I hope you walk away with this one. They told me, it's simple and it's easy to do, but every day, just go on Zillow, go on Redfin, analyze 1 property a day. Just do back of the envelope analysis. You know what I'm saying? That just like if you're looking at a multifamily unit, just look at the income you're gonna get every month, look at the mortgage and the taxes and then the other expenses you're gonna have, and just quickly see, is it cash flow positive or cash flow negative? And they said, make a challenge to yourself. Analyze 100 properties in 100 days. I loved that. I was like, hell yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to analyze 100 properties in 100 days. So every single day, I opened up an Excel sheet and I started doing that.
Yep.
And then I realized...
I remember that Excel sheet. You sent that to me too. And I had to go through like 100 properties and like confirm everything.
I was a bit crazy about it.
Yeah.
So at some point, I think it clicked in my head that like, as I was analyzing things, I was like, well, I'm looking at this property. I have no idea how much remodeling work needs to get done. I have no idea how much I'm going to pay in like actual property taxes or like, there was these variables.
Right.
And that's, I think, when I decided, like, why don't I just work with you? So I reached out to you. And then I was like, let's just work together. And you had great insight. And all the questions I ever had, you literally answered.
Well, most of them I'd say I answered. I don't think I know everything, but...
No, I'm serious. I just didn't... There's a lot of things that just were a gray area to me. You were like, well, biggest one, how much is this going to rent for? I was like, this 2-bedroom, living room's a bit small. What is a second bedroom going to rent for? And you didn't have like the precise answer, but you had a ballpark, and that was more helpful than anything. So.
Yeah, and usually there's no like precise answer, especially with like rentals, right? I mean, there's always going to be a range depending, especially when you're looking at stuff online, depending on like, you know, exact condition, layout, finishes, all that fun stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
And so in the beginning days, though, I was really thinking about this from an investment standpoint.
Yep.
So besides just building equity, I wanted to do something that would give me cash flow.
Yep.
So that's why actually I was looking at multifamilies in the beginning.
Yeah, so talk to us, because tell the people, because I know a lot of people cash flow is like a big term being tossed around today online.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I own quite a bit of units, and cash flow is
Yeah.
not always what it is perceived to be.
Yeah.
You work hard for that cash flow if it ever comes.
Yeah.
But like, tell us the journey of like, because you started with multifamily, that was the original goal. Like, I know we went to see a couple of multifamily properties. Like, how did that originally play out? And you can even get specific, like what areas we looked at, because most of the people watching these videos are from Boston. So just.
Yeah, it's a tricky one for my family and like relatives, or like go out, a little more west. Go to like Westboro. Go to like look in Natick. Go like a little bit, you get better value, more property, more square footage.
Yep.
And for a minute, I thought about it. I was like, well, with COVID and all, I can just work from home. Why don't I go do that? And then I thought, I don't know anyone there.
I don't know anyone in Westboro either.
I don't know one there.
Yeah.
So I need to be around friends and family and be accessible to like things I'm gonna do, even if COVID's around. Like I'm still gonna want to be around people close to me, and most of the people I know are in Cambridge or a little bit right outside of Boston, or in Newton. And so I wanted to be close to Boston, to the point where, this is the way I kind of imagine it in my head. I was like, what if I'm out like late night or Thursday night, out and about at some bars or some restaurants with friends. I want to hop in an Uber. It should be no less than 20 minutes. I should be back at my house. And I don't want to be paying a fortune for that price.
Yeah, you want like a 45-minute Uber drive.
Exactly, yeah. I want the Uber to be there quick, pick me up, and drive me.
Yeah.
So the realistic best spots I was looking for in that kind of criteria ended up being like Everett, Malden, Revere, Medford.
Yep.
In my current town, I did not even have on my list.
Yeah.
At all, but those are the spots that I was looking at.
That's where a lot of people that want to buy 2 or 3 families
Yeah.
will typically look, because that's where you can at least make some sort of sense of the numbers.
Yeah.
But how did that go? Like when we went, I know we checked out a couple of multifamily spots. Like, it's very different.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, those tours were awesome to go with you on, because you had an eye for some of this stuff, and I'm not sure if every other agent does.
I'm not paying him for
I was
this.
just gonna say, you not even talked to me about this. This is something that I've thought about before. Because my family has like some perspective, and they'd offer some good insight. They built a second home and stuff. But an investment angle is a very different angle, and. Going into some of these properties, I remember going into one of them, it had really high ceilings, second floor.
I remember that one.
I think this one was in
Medford.
Medford was like very close to Somerville.
Yep, by Tufts. Yep.
And I walked out and I was like, that was a freaking awesome spot. I was like, I love like the size of the rooms, the high ceilings. I love the kitchen countertops, the open kitchen. And then I remember you were just like, that's a dumpy spot.
Yeah. Well, multifamily is tricky, right? Because like, depending on the property, it can look okay on the surface too.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you remember, but like mechanically, that property was a disaster.
Yeah.
Like the furnaces were super old. The plumbing was obviously ancient. The electrical needed to be updated.
Yeah.
So even though the cosmetically it was passable. Even though not so much. Mechanically it was a disaster, and that's something I've been like hidden with pretty bad. I mean, my first property, my furnace went out within the first month I bought it, and that was $10,000. So like I learned it the hard way, unfortunately. So like that's not a lot of things you don't often think about when you're just looking at an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think you pointed out that like this is like how much knowledge I have. I was fooled by like fake granite countertops.
Oh yeah. It was like they had like the nice like composite like vinyl. It was like it was like laminate countertop, and you were loving them, and you're like, oh, this is like really nice granite, right? And I was like, no. It's not. This is the stuff they put in rentals to make it look half decent.
Yeah, that was they fooled me for sure.
Yeah.
And you bring up a good point. I mean, that was one of the two deciding factors that made me realize I don't think I should look at multis anymore. And this is just a preference thing.
Yep.
But I was like, I don't want to surface up a ton of capital if I need to. Let's say the furnace blows out, or if the roof needs to be fixed. And you're responsible for that when you do it. So
it's all in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing I was a little iffy on. I was like, eh. And then I remember talking to you outside of another spot, I think in Malden.
Malden, yep. Yeah, I remember that.
I was telling you more about my needs, and I'm being picky. Honestly.
You're allowed to.
I want a private bathroom.
Yeah.
Once you get a taste of it, and you just you don't have to worry about anyone ever coordinating schedules, shower times, it's your bathroom.
Yep.
You clean it the way you want to clean it.
Yep.
And I think you told me that you don't really find 3-bedroom, 2 baths too often.
It's rare. Finding more than one bathroom in multifamily units is definitely on the rare side.
Yeah. Just ensuite bathrooms.
Yeah, it's much less common.
Yeah. And then that was a priority for me, right? And then the third thing I think that's always been kind of a dream is I really like the idea of living around a community, around people, or just I just love those communities.
Yep.
And that's what I guess.
Yeah, multifamily doesn't really give you that feel, unfortunately.
Exactly.
The only community you get is the tenants above you.
Precisely.
Yeah. Cool. So I remember that conversation well. I think that's when I also kind of realized that multifamily may not be the best fit, right? It was, it had a lot of good in theory reasons, but practically from a cash perspective, from dealing with all that, construction, your personal needs of wanting the ensuite, I remember saying you know what, maybe we just don't look at multifamily.
I think at that point, I wasn't crazy about it because it's not really, it's not like a cash flow investment. But that's, I think, when I was like, what about condos? Yep. Yeah. And at that point, I think you said, I'm going to open up condos on your MLS update every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we ended up going to condos, and we actually didn't look at that many condos before we found the right one, right?
No.
To tell everyone, what, I think we saw a couple, what you remember you were looking for. Obviously, you showed some of the criteria, but how were condos different than multis?
Yeah.
Anything in particular that stood out to you as you were going through that process?
Yeah. I think we saw maybe 3 or 4 condos together.
So. Yeah.
I saw 2 more on my own in Waltham.
That's right. Yep.
Previously, weeks prior. But I think there was one weekend you set up 3 condos. You emailed me them. By the way, best part about working with an agent, you get, especially Lior, you wake up, once again, not being paid to say this.
We'll talk about a kickback later or something.
I just wake up in the morning and read your email from 5 a.m. I don't know how you do that. And it said the third one, I remember, actually both the last 2 ones I noticed.
Okay.
The pictures looked really good.
Yep.
And I was like, damn, this is so different than a multifamily. And I was like, this is interesting. This might be cool. I remember the third one, seeing the layout, and I was like, I like the outside views. I was like, I don't know about the inside. I'm like,
Which one was that? The East Boston one?
That's this one.
Oh, that was this one. Okay.
Yeah, I had a weird first impression of just 2 pictures. But I was like, you know what? Let's just give it a shot.
Yeah.
And we did it. We went to Eastie in the morning.
Yeah, we did 2. I remember that we did 2 in Eastie.
Yeah.
I know one of them you didn't like because there was there wasn't any private outdoor space.
Yes.
Right, that was
no
the first one.
Space, yeah.
You wanted the outdoor space because you're working from home.
Yeah. It's COVID.
It's COVID. You need the outdoor space.
Yeah.
The second one, actually, I don't think you didn't not like, but it was kind of you were a little neutral about it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it wasn't a bad spot. I think we both walked in and we liked the kitchen layout.
Yep.
what would you call that kitchen layout? It's like,
It was like open concept. I mean, it was a gutted unit.
yeah.
I think I remember that the bedrooms were a little tight, and
Yes.
you didn't love that.
That's true. The bedrooms were on the smaller side, and the
Yeah.
balcony in one of the rooms was like facing kind of like just a brick wall or brick wall buildings and stuff.
Yep, right.
So I wasn't a big fan of that. But yeah, it was okay location.
It was okay.
Nothing crazy.
Right.
Nothing crazy. But then yeah, we.
And then the third one was this one.
The third one is this one.
Yeah.
This condo that I now gratefully own. I just remember we passed Tobin Bridge.
Yep.
Bunch of traffic.
Yep.
We're like, oh, finally, get out of this traffic. And you took a turn into this condo. I mean, is in a gated community, very big.
Yep.
Like 20 plus buildings here. And
It's Admiral Hills for everyone watching too. Yes. In Chelsea.
Yep.
Yeah.
Admiral Hills, Chelsea. That's
Yep.
that's the secret spot. We kept to see
Yeah.
it the whole time. We made it.
Ripped in the big reveal.
Yeah. Yeah, so I remember we started driving. This is like afternoon. We drove right down. I won't forget this drive. Following your car. And on the left, I just see the sun, the sky, and I see water.
Yeah.
And I saw water that was reflecting off the sky. It was glistening.
Yeah.
And it was freaking beautiful. I just knew in my head, I was like, this is an incredible location.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, how have I never seen this before? Like this neighborhood before?
Most people like unless you like live around here, like Chelsea, ever East Boston, like most people don't really know about this neighborhood too,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think we just walked upstairs
Yep.
into the unit, and then I looked around the unit. I think the previous owner had an Alexa controlled lights, so she had a little bit
That's
of
right.
a tech flavor to the unit, which I am all about.
Yep.
And maybe we'll show a shot of my kitchen, but I looked into my kitchen, and I was blown away.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, that was that was very memorable for me. Walked into the bedroom,
Yep.
master bedroom, which would be mine if I moved in, and there's so much space,
Massive.
tons of space.
Like biggest master in the city I've seen in a while. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it connects to the balcony out here.
Yep.
Go out to the balcony, great view of the grass and sky and other buildings. And yeah, it's on the water. It's the closest to the water.
It's literally waterfront.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember leaving the unit on the tour. I forget what I said to you, but I think
You were pretty excited.
yeah.
You were pretty excited.
What impression did you think I was gonna buy it?
I thought you really liked it. I wasn't sure if it was like. I wasn't sure if you loved the unit because I think you might have been just a little too blown away. But I knew like the complex for sure was the right fit, like 100%.
Yeah, I think I kept telling you that. I was like, I love the area, the location, and all that.
Yep.
I remember getting into my car, sitting down. My heart was racing.
Yeah.
It was just pumping so fast. I haven't really had that type of feeling, just like in life I have.
Yeah.
I've never had that feeling. You guys, I've never had thrill before.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm here for.
No, but like real estate, like I never think that I'd get such a rush. All of a sudden I got this rush and I was like, this place was incredible. I fell in love with the entire unit. And I needed to calm myself down, so I like called my family and told my parents about it. I was like, "This place is amazing, blah blah blah," and I think there was an open house the next day.
Yep.
And I was like, "You guys have to come over. We have to go together to the open house because I need like their like judgment and like thumbs up as well, just to feel comfortable and secure about the decision."
Yep.
And yeah, we ended up doing that. So
Yeah. So let's go like into the details of how we actually approach it transactionally, right? Because I remember one of the big conversations we had when we started looking at condos. We obviously talked about there's a trend with COVID in Boston, right, where a lot of people are moving from Boston into the suburbs right now, and you kind of did the opposite. You kind of went into the city.
Yeah.
So like just like walk us through like kind of what you were thinking, how we were approaching the unit. Because we obviously wanted to make an offer, so just talk about the mindset there.
Yeah, I was thinking about it from a first-time homeowner's perspective. I wanted to go in with like 5% or lower like down payment.
Yep.
And yeah, I was just thinking, I wasn't sure because it was kind of early in the process.
Yes. Yeah.
I think at that point we're looking at places like 2 months together.
Yeah.
Or 3 months.
Maybe I think less. I think it was like 2 months maybe.
Yeah, 2 months.
Maybe one even. It wasn't like that long.
Yeah, it wasn't too long of a process. And in the back of my head, I kept telling myself that I'm gonna spend like 4 to 8 months before I decide. But there's a risk of doing that too, which is information overload.
Yep.
And paralysis
By analysis. Yeah, absolutely.
So what I ended up I think I looked at was I realized that this was the location I wanted to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So Admiral Hills, Chelsea, the beautiful skies, the ocean. You could see Boston from the water.
Literally.
Right? You look across the water, you see so. And I go there now, and I literally go out on a run every morning now, and I literally sit by the water and meditate in the morning. So, new habit that honestly has been mostly encouraged by moving here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm getting sidetracked. So I realized just this location was so good. If I'm going to make a decision, and whether it's now or in 6 months from now, it's going to be here. That's what I thought. So I had to evaluate this property based off of other properties in this area.
Yep.
So did a lot of numbers, crunched a lot of stuff, and realized the HOA fees. For folks who are not familiar, these are
explain it, please.
Condo fees.
You're the pro now.
I know a little bit. I know I'm tired right now. So when you're looking at condos, you own your unit within a building, and then the building is usually managed by some sort of association. So it's like anything inside the walls is yours.
Right.
But outside the walls, roof, grass and cleanup and snow removal, stuff like that can be managed by the association, which is a huge perk. And so there's fees associated with that. And usually the bigger the association, the more units, the bigger the fees. Think about fancy condominiums that have pools and tennis courts.
Right.
This has that.
Yes.
and you got to pay a fee for that, right? Yeah. So I mean, fees can honestly range totally, right? Completely differently all over the place. You can go super high-end luxury like downtown Boston. One of my buddies was telling me they were looking at places that had condo fees over $1,200 a month.
Oh yeah, there's some places that have like $2,000 and over. Yeah.
That's more than rent.
Yeah, that's a rent payment. Yeah, exactly. Or a mortgage payment. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
You buy a whole home with that. Yeah. So this spot, average HOA fee, average condo fee, $550 to $650.
Right.
Yeah.
In most of the buildings around.
Most of the buildings are.
Right.
Yep.
And then this was the only one that was different, right?
Yep. Yeah, sorry, I had to clarify. This specific spot was that. This specific spot, this unit, this building has an HOA fee of $380.
Yeah. It was like $200. Yeah, I remember it was like $200 cheaper than everywhere else. Yep.
And I remember carefully thinking this through. I looked through every property sold in the last 24 months in this location, this neighborhood, for the HOA fees, and I never saw HOA fees that low. Ever.
Yep.
And the only other thing I thought, basically the way I looked at it, I was like, the only time this can ever happen again is if someone happens to be moving out in the next 4 to 5 months.
Right.
In this specific building.
Right.
Which is very unlikely,
So we definitely through that, you got super excited about this unit, you realized the opportunity, why continue to wait, right?
Yep.
When you found a unit you love in the complex you like with a bomb HOA fee, right? That's super low. So how do we go about the offer process? What were you nervous about? This is probably a good time to mention the ninja trick too right now.
Oh yeah.
I mean that's
one trick.
This is killer.
Change your.
This is killer stuff. Yeah. Tell us what you were thinking with that.
Yeah, I think I called you up 2 days later and I said I want to do it.
Yeah. I remember that.
I need to do it. Yeah. I think you need an agent to do an offer, right?
I mean, in theory you could. I mean, what a lot of people think is if you go in by yourself, you can deduce that price.
Yeah.
That commission by the price. What most people don't realize is the seller's agent will just take the whole thing and nothing really changes. So you don't really get any representation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so most agents, good agents will help you like properly structure an offer from a price and
Yeah.
charge perspective.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought about that, man. I thought about being like cunning and like
Yeah.
going with not going having a buyer's agent and negotiating 10, 15 extra $1,000 off my deal. I don't think it for first time it doesn't make sense to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
The value of like being able to call you up and then have you like being able to rely on your knowledge and you've done this so many times was really helpful. So I knew like I forget did I even talk about the price on that call? I think I did, right?
I think we did.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to go in. I was like, I want to do this. I spent 2 nights sitting on my thoughts before I made the decision.
Yep.
By the way.
I remember.
2 nights after I saw the property, and then called you up, and then I said I wanted to go in at like the listing price was $460,000.
Yep.
And I wanted to go in at $390.
Yes. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. $390, yeah. And you talked me down a little bit from that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and I mean, this is what I tell everyone, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, and just to give some context, right? Like,
Yeah.
the reason why we're coming in so low,
Yeah.
as I said, right? The trend is from everyone going from the city to the suburbs.
Yeah.
And kind of leaves an opportunity in the city, right? Because condos have been really a lot weaker, anything close to Boston.
Yeah.
So a lot of buyers have been able to take advantage of that, right?
Totally.
So we talked about like how aggressively do we want to play the offer, and there's always fine line, right? Because you can always lowball someone by $100,000 if you really want to. I mean, it's certainly up to you. The question is, are you kind of just, very bluntly get the middle finger back, and they'll tell you go take a hike and see you later, right? And not even engage in a meaningful counter, right?
Yeah.
So I remember we talked a lot about that.
Yeah, you gave me good insight, which was because I was thinking like maybe I'll go less than 390.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go like $100,000 less, and you gave me insight that like if you do that, the person might not even respond back to you anymore. Like there's
And just not even deal with you again.
There's no conversation.
Right.
And I didn't like the idea of that at all.
Yeah. Because you like the unit too. Because if you didn't really care, right, and you were like, oh, it's decent. Like if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. Like but no problem. We can come in as low as you want. We can give them $1, right?
Exactly.
But if you actually want a chance at the unit and like you like the unit and you think it's a good fit and you can still get it at a good price, then you probably shouldn't come, incredibly low, like stupidly low, let's say.
Exactly. Yeah. So I thought about what you told me.
Yeah.
I got off the phone. And thought, okay, maybe I shouldn't go at 390, and then I came up with the price of. And by the way, the reason I went so low, and it's a common negotiation tactic.
Yeah.
But reading the book, this is a book. If you guys want to read it, it'll help you in negotiating a house deal, buying a car, negotiating on contracts, literally anything in your life you want to negotiate on. If you're a parent with your kids, you want to negotiate about dinner time, eating veggies.
I read the book too, so yeah.
This is not the tip, by the way, but this is it's a book called Never Split the Difference by one of the FBI's the top hostage negotiators of all time.
Yep.
Chris Voss. Yeah.
Yep.
And that book makes you more confident and comfortable and like honestly like lowballing and or just asking for a better reduced price.
And it's not only lowballing too. It's because it doesn't take a genius to come in and say I'm gonna offer 100, right? And again, my job was to get you as low as possible.
Yeah.
But you also got to balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get low as possible, but I also don't want to decrease the probability of me not having a chance of getting the unit, right?
Oh yes.
Not only that, plus we also got to balance. What else we had to balance? Like the contingencies, right? Because we were coming in with a mortgage contingency. Yeah. We were coming in with an inspection contingency. So we wanted we wanted everything, and you gotta balance. You gotta structure it the right way where you can still get everything through, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I think I ended up saying to you, I want to offer a 405.
Yes, I think that's where we started.
Yeah, 405.
And and that's what I think I suggested is like somewhere between 4 and 410.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
I told you let's break the 400 mark.
Yes.
Because if we had the 3 in front of it, I knew there was a good chance to sell it. It was going to say goodbye.
Under 4 looks bad.
Yeah.
So then I think we wrote up an offer.
Yep.
It was the third night after I saw the property.
Yep.
And we walked through it on the phone, and we wrote those mortgage contingencies, inspection contingencies together.
Yep.
And we submitted it, and
And actually, I don't think we remembered this, but do you remember what happened after we submitted the offer? We got a counter, right?
Oh yeah.
We got a counter, but then
Yeah.
then there was another buyer came into the mix.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. Right?
Yeah, you remember that really well.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah, tell us. I mean, it was a crazy story.
It was pretty wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't expecting this at all, but yeah, I think I waited 8-9 hours of that day. It was a Monday, I believe. I remember you calling me, and I remember I was meeting up with a friend at that moment, and I think basically you just said, yeah, we got a response, which I was so giddy about. I was so happy. I don't think I can answer the phone that night, so the next morning I called you.
Yep.
You told me we got a counter offer. But before the counter offer, when I was on the phone with you, I told you with my offer, I wanted to write a note.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about the trick. Yeah, we gotta do the ninja trick.
The ninja trick.
Heck yes.
So one of my friend of a friend who lives here told me, if you're gonna make an offer, write a personal note to the seller, and that's what I did. I flattered the hell out of the seller. I told her, and I'm not just making up things, like things I actually believe in and I truly love and value about the place. I commented about her just aesthetics and choice of design and the blue walls, her love for Alexa and like how passionate about technology, just the way she set up her bar and how like great that looked. And then how I explained, like, I'm a first-time homeowner, I'm trying to come in at an affordable, something that fits into my affordable budget.
Yep.
And I hope you don't mind, but this is what I think fits into my budget.
Yep.
And we'd love to hear back. And I remember you weren't like super keen on it.
Well, and you know, it's funny. I've had a lot of people ask me, and I've done it a lot, especially like in my when I first started out. I remember like 3-4 years ago, I would always encourage buyers to do that.
Yeah.
And I think the market's just been so competitive in Boston.
Yeah.
Like where, you know, at the end of the day, money talks, right? And I've never had any agent or listing agent tell me, you know what, the seller really would consider that letter. They usually just completely ignored it, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that's why I've always ignored it. I'm
totally.
just firm believer that it just doesn't really work. Money talks. But you wooed her, man.
It's crazy because I was that night. I shared the letter to my parents. My dad heard it and he was like, "That's bogus." My mom's nicer, and so she heard it, and I thought like my mom, like, you know, she likes kind of like, you know, heartfelt like letters or things like that, and she heard it and she was like, "That's not gonna work." And my sister heard it and she was like, "That's dumb." She was like, "You're being too nice to her." Basically, everyone was against the idea in that moment with the way I was looking at it. But we still powered through. You had my back with the letter, and you read it too, and it seems like you liked it.
No, it was a great letter. Don't get me wrong.
And then it turns out she comes back in the counteroffer with her own letter. Right.
I've never seen, where she actually wrote you a letter back.
Yeah.
Like that was definitely very weird. In a great way.
Yes.
In a great way.
Yeah. Just unexpected.
Very unexpected. That's probably the best way to say it.
Yeah. No, it's totally. I wasn't expecting it either, and she gave me a good explanation of why the price was high, and explained how she, I think, installed like new sliders to the balcony, new windows and the hardwood floors, and she said she spent like $15-20K to upgrade the unit.
Yep.
And it was a smart tactic to basically counteroffer a little higher than what I suggested.
Right.
And so she came at $425, I think.
She came pretty low. I think it was like maybe $425 or $430.
Yeah.
And that's when we kind of smelled a little blood too. Right?
Oh, that was not good blood.
Yeah. Well, because it was listed at $460.
Yeah.
I mean, on a first counter to come down so aggressively low, like $30-35 grand.
Yeah.
I knew we were in business.
That was amazing. Because at that point, I thought, if I really want to stretch it, I'll go for $425. That's what I thought. I
mean, and at that that unit, like so the other thing I did too is we looked at the comps, right? We looked at other units that have sold within this building around the complex, and we knew she wasn't wrong in her pricing. Like in a regular market pre-COVID, this unit would have sold for $450, $460 without too many issues.
Yep.
So we knew. Like, the fact that she came down at $425, we're already $25 grand ahead, basically.
Oh, that was
or $30
amazing.
grand ahead. Yeah.
I was like pumped up about that, and I think I thought about it for a while, negotiated with my parents about what the counter offer should be. I told you let's go back at 4:15.
Yep.
And then you called me that Wednesday evening.
Made
It was one of the saddest evenings.
Yeah, I remember that conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening? I
guess, yeah. So you told me. Turns out the seller had another interested buyer who went higher than my offer. I think at like 4:30.
Yep.
And they were gonna go with them.
Yep.
And my heart was broken.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really sad. Went to sleep that evening and thought I lost the place. Thought I was like, I'm not gonna get. And then I really understood how much I really valued this decision in this unit. Yeah.
So yeah, and I think within 2 days, right? They came back.
No, the next morning.
Was that next morning? Oh,
I remember I was about having my one-on-one with my boss on Zoom.
Okay.
And you were like, dude, can you call me?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, do you remember what happened? I mean,
You called me and you said, this is wild, this is pretty crazy, but turns out the other seller backed out.
The other buyer,
The other buyer backed out, and it was a couple, and the husband was all about it, but the wife wasn't.
That's right.
She slept on it, and she decided, I don't want to go into that place.
Yep. So we were back in business.
The next
day.
The next day. And, yeah, who knows, like, I was pretty skeptical hearing that. I was like, I don't know what this means, and if that's true, if there's a story being made or not. And I talked to many people about that. Many people told me the same thing, and I ended up having a defining conversation with my uncle, who's also a real estate investor. I think he has almost like 15, 20 tenants. And he asked me two questions. He said, Faris, do you like the place?
Yep.
I said, yeah, I really do like the place. And he said, are you willing to lose it? I said, Naz, I don't think so. And he said, it doesn't matter what the negotiation point is at this point, whether you want to go in 10 grand less or 5 grand less.
Just lock it up.
Just lock it up and do it. And at that point, she countered offered at 425, right?
Yep.
And so, actually no. At that point, she came back and said 420 in that call.
Yes, you're right. She did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they dropped it again after like the.
No, I think they went at like 422. I think they went. I think they went a couple grand below.
Okay.
To incentivize us, and that's how we ended up settling at 419.
Well, the final price ended up being 420.
420, right.
Yeah, and then we had an inspection contingency.
Yep. Yeah, so I think she basically, the listing agent called me up and said, look, she's just we're gonna drop another couple grand on verbally.
Yeah.
I know she'll take 420. She's not gonna take below 420. Do we have a deal? And
that's what it was verbally. Yeah.
Right, and that's when I said, look, I mean, we can haggle over a couple grand, or you can just lock it up right now, call it,
Yeah, because in my head and the people I was talking to, it was like, should we go out at 415 or not? And I thought, I'm not gonna haggle over 5 grand.
Yeah.
It's 5 grand, but yes, it's amortized over 30
over
years.
30 years.
Ends up being,
nothing.
$5-10 or something a month.
Right.
And
well, that's actually important too, because a lot of people don't realize, like, your mortgage payment literally does. Even if it was like 10 or 15,000, your mortgage payment changes by what, like $20?
Yep.
Like, there's no difference.
Yep. Exactly. And so at that point, I was like, you know what, I'm going in. I'm going in. Let's do it.
We locked
it
up.
This decision.
So that was quite a bit of a transaction story, but it was a unique one.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the team, right? Because now we had to do home inspections. Now we had to get a lender involved.
Yes.
We had to get an attorney involved. You already had the agent, but there was other components to bring in. So how did that all kind of come together?
Great question. So the team started to really build early on in the process. Obviously, I found you, and you became an essential point in the team. Second most important person, very early on in the process, is the lender.
Yep.
And what you should do is go shop for lenders. You should go. I think you even told me this is like shop for local banks. They sometimes have the better deals and the better stuff.
As compared to like mortgage brokers.
Exactly. And so, I've heard good things about like Rocket Mortgage and stuff, but you can.
I told you not to do that.
You can find better deals locally.
Yeah.
And so one of my buddies has a friend. He run with in college, and he's a lender.
Yep.
His name's Alex from Total Mortgage, and
Shout out Alex.
shout out to Alex, great guy. And gave me an incredible interest rate at 2.8%, which ended up being 2.8%.
Stupid low.
Crazy low, crazy low, and I contacted like 2 other places, but knowing a friend of a friend, I felt very comfortable and confident.
Yep.
So I went with him. And then at the point of purchase, we decided we need to like get the place inspected.
Yep.
So I found out, this is pretty cool. I talked to people in my network who knew other people who might live in Chelsea.
Mm.
Turns out there's a couple who lives in this community. One of my friends knows. Called them one night. I got to get some tips about the area. Then I asked them, hey, did you have a good inspector you work with? They're the best person to ask, right? Because they're the person who inspected their property here. So when it comes to an inspector, always choose someone in your local area. My uncle gave me that advice too. He said, find just the cheapest person in Mass, find the cheapest person in your area. Who knows your buildings, who knows your neighborhood. Yep. So, I forget the guy's name, but
I'm blanking
I'll have
on
to
it.
give you his link or something.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wonderful, amazing guy. And I think they're not paying it was really cheap, like $400 for inspection.
Yeah, it was a good price.
Yeah, but the thing I liked about him is he knew this building inside and out.
Yeah, he had inspected other units here.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was the 3rd person in my team, which was amazing. And the 4th person in my team, I needed an attorney. Mm. So thought about it for a while. I had my friend's dad who's a lawyer who knows an attorney. That guy didn't respond to my call one afternoon. So I was like, you know what, I need someone who's responsive, who's quick, and you gave me a good recommendation.
Yeah, you ended up using the attorney I use.
Yeah.
I mean, with attorneys, the big thing is just responsiveness, right? Because I actually just last week had a deal fall apart because an attorney was not responding to emails, being delayed, and you kill your client's interest before it even begins, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what I told you, right? If he's not responding to your email or call within a day, that's not someone you want to rely on such a quick paced transaction.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I went with Susan, and she was great. Yeah. So I think that's the whole team, right?
That's the whole team. That's it.
It assembled and got started on the process.
Nice. Anything you want to tell everyone about the actual transactional process for you? Like once we finish the inspections, anything, working with the lender, and any tips you'd give people going through that process? Yeah,
just patience. It's
a very good call.
I think you told me about it. There's a bunch of steps that happen, right? You do your first offer, which we signed and sent over. Then you have before that, you have your inspection, right?
Yep.
And then you have to do P&S, Purchase and Sales Agreement, which is like a longer document.
Right.
You walk through your attorney on that. I thought that was the biggest document I was going to sign.
Little did you know.
So that happened 2 weeks after the first offer. And apparently, until that point, you can still back out if you want. You told me that. And that was cool. It's nice. It's a good peace of mind to have. And then not much else from there. I think it's just you wait for other people to do their stuff.
Yep.
After P&S, I think we just waited for
it's kind of a waiting game at that point. Yeah.
I had to make get my income statements and pay stubs and send that as proof to the bank.
Right.
They fact checked everything and make sure it's all good.
Yep.
And then they just kind of take it from there. And then comes closing pretty much.
That's what it is. Yeah. It's after purchase and sales, it's usually pretty smooth.
Oh, the appraisal. Yeah.
Yes, the appraisal.
So after P&S, waited for the bank to send out an appraiser.
Right.
That was I was a little anxious. I was because I've heard people
getting screwed by it.
The bad appraisal.
Yep.
And appraisal took forever.
They took their time.
They were supposed to do it this one day, and they ended up doing 7 days later. Literally 7 days later.
Yeah.
But they appraised it pretty much right above property
the purchase price. Yep. So, exactly.
Yeah.
Sweet. No. So that was a transactional process. Yeah. I mean, after that, it was basically just everyone letting do their thing.
Yeah, I didn't have to really do anything after P&S.
Right.
Just waiting for everyone else to do their stuff.
Right.
And so I think offer was made late September.
I think so, like mid-September
Or
maybe?
mid-September.
Yeah.
Sorry, no. Offer was made late August.
Late August, yes.
Closing was October 7th.
Yeah, we closed, yes, right.
Or October 6th or something. And yeah, so offer was made like late August.
Yep.
And then pretty much.
P&S was like mid-September,
Yes.
and then closing was like 4 weeks later or something.
Exactly.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
So pretty much a month and a half was the whole process.
Yeah.
And yeah, before you know it, I drove up to whatever that town was.
Yep, exactly.
And sat with you and Susan in the office and took a thick stack of papers and started signing away.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's the final closing agreement. So.
Yep. Nice. And so tell everyone like what's it been like so far. I mean, it's 2 months into ownership, a month and a half into ownership.
Yeah, nothing.
How that's been like, and then any plans for any future app purchases if you're gonna try to buy investment property.
Yeah.
Or what you're thinking now.
It's been amazing, honestly. I can't complain. I think I'm rolling off of the high at this point now, but it's a great high when
it's
you
a
have
great
it.
high.
I told you, I was like, when you gave me the keys after closing, I was like, I got my air mattress in the car. I'm driving there. I had nothing in the unit. I threw my air mattress down and I just stayed there the first night. Stayed here the first night.
Yeah.
Still getting my furniture situated. I'm taking my sweet time to get the proper sectional couch and dining tables and rugs and things. But I remember just walking around this place for like 2 weeks, and looking at every wall and being like, I own this space. This space is mine. Like, this is property that's mine.
Yeah.
I know it seems silly, but when you start to click in your head, you're like, it's kind of like the American dream. It's pretty crazy. So I've really loved that, and there's a lot of huge responsibility that comes with it too. And I'm starting to feel that as well. Just taking care of things and fixing things here and there, and nothing breaking. But like for example, like if needed to tweak the heat and air conditioner and stuff, and if something like the microwave and stuff wasn't working, it's my responsibility. I have to take care of that. Just working on trying to get. I'm basically gonna get a roommate as well.
Yep. Because you bought a 2-bedroom.
2-bedroom.
And 2 baths.
2 baths, yeah.
And you have your own master suite.
Yes.
So you don't have to share a bathroom with anyone.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you can rent out the other bedroom and bathroom essentially.
Exactly. The other bedroom has another private bathroom, and it's a great spot. I mean, you know anyone? Yeah. Looking for a roommate.
Exactly.
It's a waterfront property, balcony, in-unit laundry.
We'll give you the Craigslist link after this.
I'll send you sales emails.
Yeah, he's got some good sales emails too.
But yeah, no, I'm looking for a roommate, and once that got situated, get more furniture in here, it's going to be a good spot. In terms of next steps and investments, I'm going to take my time.
Yep.
I'm going to try to get rid of the PMI off of this.
And what's PMI for everyone?
PMI is private mortgage insurance.
Yep.
So what that means is it's essentially it's something that happens. It's something that banks give you when you go under 20% on a down payment.
Correct.
So it's basically banks' way to kind of insure themselves if you default, since you're going pretty low.
And of course they charge you for their insurance.
So they charge you a little
Yeah.
extra fee every
Classic,
month.
yeah.
Classic. So it's like $100-$200 a month.
I think it was a little bit less. I think it was like 100 if I'm not
Probably like
50.
170,
Is that what it was? Yeah.
So you get that every month, but like it's just an extra fee that's not interest or equity, and it's like let's get rid of that. So once you reach up to 20% of equity in home value, you get rid of that. So I know I'm gonna hopefully get there in like a couple of years, a year or two if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
And I want to go somewhere. I want to invest again. Hopefully, maybe 3 years, 4 years from now.
Nice.
I want to let's say maybe switch jobs at some point in the future, and who knows where I'm going to be in life, but I definitely want to invest more. I've caught the bug.
The real estate bug is real. It's very real.
Whether it's here in Boston or in Florida or in Texas or something, or Switzerland, I don't know. Yeah. I want to likely go for another investment, and hopefully maybe one that provide some more positive cash flow back as well.
Well, next one is not really, maybe less on like the owner occupancy side, maybe
Yes.
more focused on the actual
Yeah,
generating income, like pure investment.
for sure.
Right,
For sure, yeah.
right.
So yeah, that's what's hopefully on the horizon down the road.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it kind of worked out for you.
Yes, absolutely. Couldn't have done it without you, Lior.
Well, I'm glad to be part of the process. Any
Yeah.
final things, tips you want to share with everyone?
Yeah, one thing I don't think I really mentioned, but it's so accessible. It is extremely accessible for anyone to get started in buying a home.
Mhm.
Most of my friends, I feel like a lot of people I know in life can get started in this process. And it just takes it's a mental barrier to get over.
Yep.
You think you buy a home when you have a family and you're married and you have kids and everything, and you want to settle down and stay there for 40 years. No, you don't. I could, even today, it'd be bad, but if I really, really didn't want to be here anymore, I could pack up my bags and just turn this into a rental unit and rent out both bedrooms and pretty much hopefully like net out, or maybe if I'm really, really lucky, like
You might be able to make a little bit.
make a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
Still building equity. So anyone, you can get started. It's possible. You can do it with the first-time homeowners policy with lending. So if you have 5% down payment available in cash on a property, let's say $300,000 spot, and if you have 5%, if you have 15 grand, like, and you know, a little bit more of a cushion than that, you can get started. It's not that extremely difficult to get started.
And just as a quick tweak to what he was saying, so you don't have to be a first-time home buyer to access 5% down, right?
Oh,
Because you use 5% down. You took a conventional loan.
True.
So I actually, like, I own a good amount of rentals, and then I just bought a condo for myself, and I was able to use the same exact 5% conventional down loan, and that was certainly not my first purchase. So that's accessible to whether you already own a home, bought a home, and you don't have to be a first-time home buyer for that.
Yeah, thanks for correcting me on that.
Yeah.
That's so actually what the first time owner is 3%, right?
Yeah, there are some first-time home buyer programs that can do 3.5%, 5%.
Yeah.
You can also do
There's the mic.
you can also there are some specific programs for first-time home buyers, but honestly, there's so many different loan options that even if you're not, you can get some really low down payment programs.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like, whichever program it is, like,
Right.
if you can go down to 5, like, that's insane.
It's so low. It's so low. Yeah.
So it is possible you can achieve your dreams. Just you have to get over the mental barrier of it.
Yep.
And it could financially change your life.
Well, you heard it right there. Well, hey, I appreciate you having me over.
Of course, yeah.
Appreciate you involving me in the process. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Guys, if you guys have any questions, any comments, any thoughts, shoot them below. I will forward them to Faris. He can answer them for you. I don't even want to deal with that. He'll stop the comment section.
Yeah.
And thanks for watching, guys. And
For sure. No, thanks for having me in this video and letting me highlight my story.
Of course, man.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching.